Hi, my name is Rich, and today I'm going to talk about what is spirituality. And obviously, this is a bit of a hot topic, but generally speaking, what do we all want? We all want to be happy. We all want to be free. We want to have that feeling of relief. You buy a Ferrari. You buy the Ferrari not because you want to, not necessarily want a Ferrari. You want the Ferrari because of how you think it will make you feel. And generally, we all want to be happy. And it's controversial because obviously there's the word religion and there's the word spirituality, and they get mixed up a bit. And I kind of actually, for this context, I will keep them kind of separate because it does incense a lot of people bringing this topic up. I think a bit of like chicken noodle soup. You might want chicken, but you are offered a bowl of chicken noodle soup. And you get noodles and carrots and broth and all these other things, and an organized religion will just say, hey, we have this delicious bowl of soup, and you get the full package. And sometimes people say, well, I'm not as satisfied with the soup, I just wanted the chicken. So they start to look for other paths to get the item that they desire. And that's kind of leads people on this path. And I say, how does this come about? Why do people start searching for spirituality, and what does it mean? I believe that a lot of people achieve what they're supposed to achieve, what society teaches them they're supposed to do. They get the job, they get the degree, they get these things. And it's almost like the goalpost keeps moving out. And at some point they say, no matter what I achieve, I still don't feel happy. I still don't feel complete. I still don't feel whole, connected, etc. There must be something more. And when one gets that question of there must be something more, what is it? And they realize it is not from something outside of them. It is something inside of them. I think people start to look at spirituality a little different from how they've looked at things in the past. Now, this obviously, spirituality is a movement, has been growing since probably the 1960s in the counterculture movement. People started to challenge organizations, etc. You see growth since the 1970s. Attendance in organized religions across the board, every way, shape, and form, has been decreasing pretty much steadily every year for the last 50 years. And growth in spirituality has been increasing. What makes it a little wonky is there is no one definition of spirituality. There's no one book. And obviously that keeps people going back to their traditional religious organizations because there is one place there. There's a gatekeeper who filters everything for you, and a lot of people, I find, feel they don't really want the gatekeeper anymore. Thank you. They want to kind of know. It's an inside job, in my opinion. So people have been seeking different ways. So you see growth in meditation, yoga, Eastern religions. People pick up books on Buddhism, etc., or different things that they might not otherwise do in the past, largely to help kind of bring that relief, ease, connectedness, and happiness. You often see in 12-step programs reference to a higher power, in terms used higher power, source energy, all that is, are often terms that are used in place of the G word. And nothing wrong with the word God, other than we all have our own preconceived notions of what that word means. So it can often, there's familial, there's organized religion, there's political, there's culture-specific definitions of that word, which tends to bias people. So you'll notice that you'll keep seeing these, what higher power, source energy, all that is, what are they talking about? And that's largely, you'll typically see that term for something greater than oneself, simply put, used a lot in general spirituality programs. And there's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just that people do have a bias, and it's just better to avoid it. And, at the end of the day, you want the good parts. You want the chicken. You don't necessarily want the noodles. Leave the noodles behind, take the chicken. And there's kind of commonalities across all spirituality. The first is that, there's an acknowledgement that there must be something bigger than yourself, that we are not here alone. This didn't happen by happenstance. There must be more. And then where do I go from there? I think the first thing to acknowledge is if you're here, you are supposed to be here. And that is a common theme in most spiritual practices that you hear, read, I don't care what you look at. And if the guy that you don't like is also supposed to be here. You're all supposed to be here. God, the higher power, your source, does not make mistakes. You did nothing wrong. This is just part of your learning experience, your soul's choice to go on this journey. and learn and discover what it's supposed to learn. Now, anything like along that line, like guilt, and that's one of the common lessons that you'll see. Just drop it. It doesn't serve you. Now, the third step I would say would be grounding practice or some way, because in our day-to-day lives we are in just brainwaves are beta, alpha, theta, and delta. We're often in high beta. It's this fight or flight, go, 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 very fast society, very fast treadmill. And you want to get yourself down into that kind of alpha, slow thinking, calm state, because when one is in that state, they're able to do the right thing, they're able to think consciously, and they're happy, you're relaxed, you're at ease, which is another big part of why people seek out spirituality. Now, meditation is probably the number one way that people seek to do that. In meditation, you're kind of linking your conscious mind with your subconscious mind. And of course, what does your mind do? It wanders all over the place. And it's just a practice of bringing it back, keep bringing it back to a breath or a mantra or something like that, and calming down and training oneself to kind of calm down. And that's very common in spirituality, is that people are at ease. They don't want to be in a highly stressed, fight or flight mode all the time. They are seeking something softer, an easier way of life, and that connectedness gives people a lot of peace, a lot of happiness and serenity. And that's the fourth point, is it's kind of how one wants to live their life. And people who kind of stick with searching out a spiritual program, you start to hear terms like gratitude, serenity, peace, happiness, just sort of general terms, but that are very, have very strong motivation. There's a woman, Esther Hicks, who speaks about an emotional guidance system. And you can only imagine like two cones, one going up, one going down. The one going up at the top is peace, love, gratitude, joy, and maybe in the middle it's contentment. It's sort of neutral, but it's not negative. And at the bottom is fear, anger, rage, etc., which is also very powerful. And so each of these sort of cones you could imagine spinning and being pulled out. So if you watch the news a lot of rage, resentment, anger, and it gets people to watch the news. So from a media point of view, it's great for ratings. It's terrible for a person's sense of happiness and well-being. So if you realize you're in that bottom half of the cone where all the negative emotions are, you want to try to get yourself up to the top half of the cone, where in moving from content to happy, to joyful, to gracious and at peace. And that's kind of the general world of how I view spirituality. There's so many books, there's so many sources. It can be a complete minefield. And I think most of the people I talk to, they don't want to go down 100 different weasel holes. They just want to kind of find a path that's right for them, that brings them the contentment, that is consistent with how they were raised, maybe improves upon some of their prior thoughts or learnings, and kind of complements that and allows them to move into a place where they are every day, happy, content, at peace. So thank you again. My name is Rich Mizak. So please, if you would like to speak further, please go to my website, book a one-on-one session with me at richmizak.com. Thanks so much.